This is probably really distinct.
What's really distinct?
Just my thing.
Crash Bandicoot 2.
Good. Audio's good.
Cortex strikes back.
Let me level.
Press stop to
Yeah,
begin.
Is it coming through HD?
it's because PAL. I don't think we can do much about it. It should be alright.
Yeah, nothing too much of consequence happens on that part of the screen. It's more important that we have the top of the screen.
Yeah, we have the full top, so we're good. It's just the bottom is extra. Okay.
It's working.
Yes, you are good to go.
Okay.
Alright,
Call you?
alright. This is one where timing's going to start when I gain control in the warp room. So there will be. I'll count down when. So I'll count down when that's about to happen. But well, first we gotta get this.
What's the game on Twitch?
Crash Bandicoot 2 Cortex Strikes Back.
Press stop to begin.
Colon?
Cortex. Yes, there's a colon. Cortex Strikes Back. Yep, that's the one.
Great.
All right. So first, when I start this new game, there's this cutscene that I gotta skip, and then get ready to start time. 3, 2, 1, start time. All right. Well, this is Crash Bandicoot 2 Cortex Strikes Back, and the category that I'm going to be doing is any % no game over abuse. My name is Stump, and well, yeah, in this category, it pretty much consists of getting the crystal from each level and getting to the end of it. And after every 5th level, there's a boss. And 5 bosses, and there we are. The reason that this is no game over abuse is that if we were to game over in a level after we get the crystal, the game actually would hang on to that, and I would get it if I were to go into another level afterwards and complete it. So this forces us to actually complete every level. And the movement I was doing through that level, which I will be doing through all of the standard platforming types, was chaining slides into spins. But I'm letting go of the directional button I'm pushing between the slide and the spin. That is called a neutral slide spin, and it keeps the slide speed, which is the fastest the Crash can move, through the spin. This allows moving almost constantly at that speed. Normally, the cooldown on sliding would make repeated sliding slower. Also, at the beginning there, I had 2 masks, and I skipped the box that would give me a 3rd one. That is because getting the invincibility from the 3rd mask impacts Crash's movement in a way that's not particularly helpful for going fast. Lots of speeds of things are different. Neutral slide spinning is not faster. So actually, if I were to accidentally get 3rd mask form when I don't want it, the fastest way for me to keep going from that would be to crawl, amazingly enough. So here's Hang 8, our first level with a form of movement other than just the regular platforming. We got this thing. I'll just keep boosting and soon get to the end of this part. Yeah, I didn't get all the way to where I wanted there, but there I spun immediately after jumping. That causes the jump to go a little bit higher than it usually would. There, I got that, but that's known as a glitch high jump. So there's another one of these parts. Now with mines floating back and forth to avoid. And that gem is there because I finished that level within the timer that you saw on screen before that death I took. I don't get it because Crash would do another one of those animations in the warp room to throw it up in the air and it would float into its place, and that would just waste time. So this is the pits. I'm going to try and, just like I did there, jump over the birds and then spin behind them to get boosted forward. Yep, I actually completely cleared that one. Right, here's where you see one of the nice features of neutral slide spinning is that you are continuously doing something that is an attack. Alright. Now, the glitch high jump is one of the things that, when I fall into one of those pits, allows me to get out the back of it without defeating the number of enemies I normally would have to. But that runs into... I gotta focus on this part. Alright. Not all of those pits are have a back wall low enough to glitch high jump over in the NTSC version, though. When they made the... so I'm actually running on the PAL version of this game, and that's because, well, for a few reasons, but one of them is that for the movement parameters, for when they slightly overcompensated for the reduction of the frame rate. So the jumps are a little bit higher and the movement is a little bit faster. And that's what allows those glitch high jumps to work when they wouldn't in NTSC. So we have our 5th crystal now, and that brings us to our first boss, Ripperoo. This boss fight is pretty much an auto-scroller. He does exactly the same pattern every time, and I just have to be ready for when he becomes vulnerable. And I slide against Ripperoo to deliver the hit at the first possible moment. Also, you can bounce on him. He's completely harmless other than the explosive tiles that he creates. letting Crash get into the idle animation like that on the final hit. And there's our first boss out of 5 down. And now we have another set of 5 levels. Here we have Snowbiz, another ice level. Yeah, I missed that mess box, but hopefully I won't need it. A few times I've been hit in midair by that log crusher, and then it's caused me to land directly in the pit. Also, neutral slide spinning is fast enough to just go right under those icicles. One of the nice things about the slight extra jumping power you have in this version of the game is that you can fairly easily make it onto those moving platforms there, and the tri jump lets me not care about the cycle of that platform. With where that was, I knew those were about to go down and I wouldn't make it across them. And since I have a mask, I don't have to worry about those. I'll just use one of those up. Alright, this level is one of 2 bear levels that we're going to be doing in this. You continuously move forward on this thing. It makes these levels a real pain in 100% because you can't go back for any missed boxes, but here we just care about getting through and ensuring that we get the crystal along the way. That set of 3 boxes there is where is what makes this level a true pain in 100%. You have to move left and right very precisely to break all 3 of them. And now we have Crash Crush, another boulder level. And it introduces those electric gates, like the one I just went under. However, when you're neutral slide spinning, both phases of that still make it under the gate in this level. That screen shake was from the previous boulder finally hitting the end of its movement, even though I'm all the way up here now. There are lots of boost pads here, especially in the final... I need that. Especially in this final boulder section. These are going to let me get ridiculously far ahead of the boulder. The reason that they provide all of these is because there's this body slam box there that takes some time to do the body slam to break, and you would just make it if you weren't neutral slide spinning. And this is the eel deal, our first sewer level. And one of the main features is these pools of water that an eel occasionally electrifies, so you've got cycles. And to get across that, I took a hit from the nitro because that has a quicker animation than getting shocked by the electrified water. And there's our 10th crystal, so it's time for the next boss, the Komodo brothers. So the one spins the other around, and you can manipulate the movement by how you by your own placement. Then some knife throwing happens, and then you have a second phase. And then one more repeat, but then knives are going to be thrown during the spinning phase. And then these two will be dead. And that's 2 warp rooms done. Because I have these extra masks, I can just boost forward through that, and I got a replacement one right away. Lots more whirlpools, mines, and nitros in this one. And since I got 2 masks, I don't have to alter my trajectory for that last one. And since I have a mask here, I will use it to get past these two by taking the hit and using the iframes. Otherwise, if I didn't have a mask, I'd have to go forward on the surface and on the platforms next to it, and then go back to the board to ride across. And that yellow gem there was for the timer. And these lab assistants with the torches, they have very large hitboxes. And ones that also last a little bit longer than it might look like they would last. So they're just annoying. Now, if I position myself right, I can jump right through that without getting hit, but I was a little bit too far to the left. But the mask took care of that. And the next level is a bear level, and it's going to eat up our masks, so I'm going to use the two masks I have here to not wait for these blowtorch lab assistants. This is another bear level. It adds a few more types of enemies and obstacles, but other than that, there isn't too much special to it. Here we have a new type of level, the ruin level. Heavily built around falling platforms. And you can glitch high jump over the fire. I took that hit so that to not have to wait for that fire, but also because We have the equivalent of a boulder level coming up, and those take your masks away. Although, this isn't exactly a boulder level. Nor was Bear Down exactly the last bear level. Now the bears are much larger. But the electric barriers are a little bit lower, so you can't neutral slide spin under them. You have to be sure that you're on the sliding phase of that movement. Through the magic of neutral slide spinning, you can get far enough ahead of the bear that you can't even see it anymore. The boost pads help too. So I would say that this is actually 2.5 bear levels that the game has. On the bear, you can actually touch the sides of the electric barriers there and you'll break them away. I jumped before the end there so that animation would take me a little bit closer to the ending warp. But now we're at the third boss fight, and this is the first one that I would say has actual substance to it. It's also pretty much the only real place where RNG impacts the run, because that's what controls what platforms fall. We got the earliest possible fall for phase 1. Hopefully we can do the same for the next 2 phases. Alright, 1 extra jump. And it's the third one where the RNG can really not be nice to you. Especially if the one platform that drops is in a corner. And even though the third phase took a little bit longer than we wanted it to, we got through it. Now, Warp Room 4, I'm actually not going to do in order. And the reason for that is that there is one exception to third mask form generally getting in the way. And that is when you're on those hanging grids in the sewer levels. Having third mask form actually makes you move very fast across those. But there's only, and there is a mask box in level 16 hanging out just before one of those. But that's the first mask box in the level, so we gotta bring 2 masks in to take advantage of this. That's why I'm doing this level first. And those exploding fruits that the large plants are spitting at me, well, I guess I'll be... normally when I take a hit in a level, it is there. It can be... sometimes those exploding fruits can take you by surprise. But I am past the last mask box in the level. Also, there are bees. And since I didn't really have to preserve that mask anymore, I thought I would show how you can glitch high jump over those electric barriers that go on and off. And this darker colored ground if you spin on it, you burrow under it, and that works well for hiding from the bees. But with neutral slide spinning, outrunning the bees works too. And if you're doing the spin off of a slide, you don't go under it, which works quite well for moving across it. Also, spinning near one of those explosions prevents it from hitting you as long as you continue spinning for as long as the explosion hitbox exists. So I'm going to do level 19 Ruination to see if I can hopefully bring 2 masks out of that one. One of the things about Ruination is that it reproduces many of the box arrangements from Road to Ruin, but with some nitros mixed in. Although this is more of a concern in 100% due to having to actually break all the boxes. I'm gonna die here to reset cycles. There are some much faster jumps I can do across this, but in the interest of making sure you get to see what hanging out third mask form looks like, I'm going to just bring the masks out of here. So now we have our 2 masks. We can go do hanging out now. And a nice little trap for those who want to try and start that level by just NSSing ahead. You can see the movement across these grids is not exactly fast, but it's about to be much faster. And I'm just walking rather than... oh, there we go. Rather than neutral slide spinning, because neutral slide spinning actually slows you down in this form. If there were longer straightaways between the pits, I would have shown just how fast crawling in that form is. Alright, hanging out is done. Yeah, this is another snow and ice level, Cold Hard Crash. And we are actually going to be taking the death route in this, because it bypasses part of the main part of the level that takes more time than the death route would. Slightly off on that. Yeah, with getting the iframes from that, I didn't know how that cycle was going to line up, so that's why I waited to see. I must have moved on to down. That means we are not going to be able to take the death route. There should be space there. Alright. Let's try that again. That is where the death route would be. Yeah, we gotta do this part now. This is where we would end up from the death route, which is almost entirely ice, so sliding through it works for much faster movement through it. It didn't look like I hit the penguin into the TNTs. Yeah, sometimes the game can be odd about that. Well, at least we're after a checkpoint. There was an example of a spin to not get hit by the explosion of the exploding fruit there. Also, remember the bees from Digging It? There are now a lot more of them, and they move faster. Up. Just the slide I put there. I was hoping I would hit one of those bees forward into the green switch that blows the nitros up, but none of them went that way. But now we're entering the engine fight, and I would say this is the hardest boss in the game. That's still not particularly hard. Each hand takes 10 hits. Also, the spin and slide have been replaced by shooting fruit forward. I land my 10th hit on each of the hands during that attack, causing both of them to explode at the same time. Now I gotta do the same thing with the shoulders, which release missiles. Alright, one hit on the left, 2 hits on the right. Alright, I have both of them one hit away from death. And we got double shoulders. Not getting double shoulders is very bad. You have to wait for another cycle of that, and then that thing takes 5 hits.
Master Cortex will be very displeased with your insistence. Prepare to suffer his wrath!
So now we're on to our last 5 levels. This includes 2 pairs of levels that are of level types that are new to this warp room. There's these piston levels. It often works out to jump around them. The scream is the best thing about T's shield lab assistance. And this one is another one of the types of levels we haven't seen before. This is one of the jetpack levels. It is possible to skip getting the jetpack and make your way through without it. Due to a forward warp that you can do that way, this actually ends up being slightly faster than using the jetpack. But doing even the slightest thing wrong during that can crash the game, so it's a little bit dangerous to do in a marathon. Also, spinning, you're supposed to spin those multiple times towards those disintegration fields at the end. But only on PAL. You can just keep pushing forward and you end up going past the enemy without taking damage. And the field doesn't actually hurt you because you never were supposed to be there. And here's a level that's sort of one of the standard woods style levels, but in the dark, where we have to use these fireflies to light the way. These are times such that under casual conditions, each one would last just until the next one, and that's with non-stop movement. So the overlap you see between when I have each one shows the time that's saved by neutral slide spinning. And here we got another jetpack level. There's that skip again. Alright. Now, there was a mask right there too. I didn't think that hitting the box would slow me down as much as I did because I came in contact with it in a different way than I was expecting. Certain lineups of that wire and the mines can be tricky to get through. And now we have just one more crystal to get. Spaced out, another one of the piston levels. There's a trick I'm about to do here where if I get it, well, I can still. There we go. Should have landed. I should have slid instead of spun there. Alright. With a glitch high jump on top of that and the bounce, I can get on top of the window in front of there and NSS past everything. And then get ahead of that cycle. That's exactly how the rest of that level is supposed to go, once you can get past the beginning of it. So now we have all 25 crystals, and that brings us to probably one of the most anticlimactic Cortex fights in any Crash game. This is a jetpack level. If you keep moving forward, there are 3 easily discernible spots where you can hit them, and that's the fight. Time will be on the 3rd hit. Get ready on time. And time. Alright. Oh, that was Crash 2, any %, no game over reviews.
Crash, what is the
have next?
Next is Sonic Adventure 2 Battle.
All right.